Jarrell Miller continues to trash talk Anthony Joshua, as he should. The latest from Jarrell Miller is, he says, yes, most definitely, he's still my top target. He's not used to that. He's not used to somebody stepping to him like that. He might be big in England, but he ain't nobody over here. He's just another guy I want to punch in the face. He's not used to having punches in his face by a bigger guy who comes forward and doesn't really back up. He has problems with shorter opponents. I'm a little shorter than him and bigger than him, and I throw more punches than him. Somebody like me that comes forward and doesn't take no for an answer, he's going to have a long, dangerous, terrible night. I'm eventually going to stop him. So those are the words of big baby Jarrell Miller. You see him there facing off with AJ. Now, I'm possibly in the minority when it comes to believing that Big Baby actually has a decent chance against AJ. I am not dismissive like so many boxing fans are, and I reckon it's wishful thinking with a lot of the boxing fans, to be honest with you, because they dislike Jarrell Miller. And Jarrell Miller has not only got a lot of people who don't like him in the UK because of the way he's going at AJ, but there's also a lot of people who don't like him in the United States because of the way he's been going at Deontay Wilder. So he's building up a lot of hate all round, and that's cool. But again, I think people are wishful thinking. I think he is a problem for AJ and for Wilder. And in fact, I think he might even be a bigger problem for AJ than he is for Wilder. And the reason I say that is because Wilder has got better stamina than AJ, and he's quicker on his feet than AJ. AJ is a more stationary target. He's more robotic. And I think he's somebody who Jarrell Miller would be able to track down and corner a lot easier than Deontay Wilder. One thing I do have to say, though, is that AJ is definitely quicker on his feet than the likes of Marius Wack and what's the guy called now? Duopa, and probably even Gerald Washington, although Gerald Washington has got good athleticism. And AJ's definitely got a lot more dog in him. He's got a lot more fight in him and a lot more heart than somebody like Gerald Washington. But still, I don't really see this as an easy fight for AJ at all. Jarrell Miller appears to have a very good chin. I know he hasn't fought any huge punches yet, but he's still fought guys who, if they crack you clean enough times, it's going to cause problems, and it hasn't caused him any problems in terms of, him being hurt or anything like that. So, yeah, I think this is a tough fight for AJ. I think it's a tough fight for Wilder too. I think Big Baby Miller is underestimated by a lot of boxing fans. For one, because they don't like him and they don't want him to be very good. And for two, because he's fat. And sometimes people do look at a fat man and say, this fat man's not going to beat this in shape man. That's impossible. Well, things are a little different at heavyweight. Because at heavyweight, fat doesn't mean that you belong in the weight division below your opponent necessarily, and that you're just a fat guy who's bulked up and you're going to get smashed to pieces by a supreme athlete. No, because Jarrell Miller weighs over 300 pounds. Anthony Joshua at the moment is weighing maybe 245, 240? So if Jarrell Miller lost a hell of a lot of fat, he's still going to be as heavy as AJ. Naturally. So this is not a smaller guy who's bulked up to become fat. Like, sometimes if you were, like, for example, if you were to see a welterweight fight and one guy is fat and the other guy is in shape and they both made 147, that means the fat guy is really tiny. He's like a featherweight or something who's bulked up, who's eating his way up with hamburgers and stuff like that to be a welterweight. And more often than not, he's going to get obliterated. But in heavyweight, it's not like that because there's no weight limit. So fat doesn't necessarily mean he's small. It doesn't necessarily mean he's weak. And he doesn't have to make weight. He don't have to drain himself. He's whatever weight he is. Now, don't get it twisted. I think Jarrell Miller would be better if he could lose most of this fat the right way. And I think that would take several years, to be honest with you. If he could lose it the right way, and be able to retain his speed, his work rate, his strength, etc., minus the fat, I think that would, it may take a long time for his body to adjust to that, okay? Different strokes for different folks. Some people could adjust easier than others, but it may take Jarrell Miller a while. That's all I'll say. But I do think he'd be better off without the fat. But even with the fat on, he's a dangerous heavyweight. So he's doing what he's supposed to do, which is calling these guys out, trash talking these guys, because he wants to fight them. He's supposed to trash talk them. I don't have any problem. He went too far, in my view, talking about AJ's mom. That was crazy disrespectful. And apparently that's the reason that he didn't end up going to the UK to be ringside for Dillian Whyte's fight with Joseph Parker. Because I think it was according to Eddie Hearn or somebody out there, they said something, I think it might have been Hearn in the IFL interview. He said something like there were members of Dillian Whyte's entourage or his team who were really unhappy with some of the things that Jarrell Miller had said, and basically was unsafe for Jarrell Miller to be at the show. This is the explanation that was given. All right. And anybody who thinks that Dillian Whyte's team are not a serious crew, you know, of some big dudes who can do damage, then you're barking up the wrong tree. All right. Jarrell Miller's out of zone if he's in the UK. He ain't got his people from Brooklyn with him. He ain't got nobody with him. Do you understand what I'm telling you? He would be in a fish out of water, and trust me, there are sharks in London. Dillian Whyte he's got wolves and sharks and stuff like that in his team. So that might actually be a legitimate reason why Jarrell Miller was advised, apparently by Sky, not to go to the UK. So, I don't know. Anyway, let me know how you feel about everything I've talked about in this video. Jarrell Miller continuously calling out AJ. How do you think he would do in a fight against AJ? And how do you think he would do in a fight against Deontay Wilder? And again, I'm not necessarily picking Miller to beat AJ or Wilder. I'm just saying he gives them a tough fight, very tough fight at the very least. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, and if he did beat either of them, I wouldn't be shocked. Yeah? Let me know how you feel in the comments. It's Hatman, I'm out.